It's been a pretty wild first 3 weeks of the season. A lot has changed from week 1 to now. So let's go and start with number 10, a team making its debut on Bryson's Best 10. It is the Buffalo Bills. You guys know I have not really believed in the Bills for a while now, but Buffalo cracks in at number 10. A lot of people putting them higher because there was a lot more belief in the Bills by other people not named Bryson Carver, I guess. But listen, I like what I've seen the last couple of games. Josh Allen's played mostly clean football. Made some big-time plays with his arm. Stephon Diggs has played well. The offensive line has been serviceable. Again, I still don't think it's an elite group by any stretch, but the defense for the Bills is really what, to me, elevates them into that top 10. They're top 5 in just about every statistical category, turnovers, sacks, the whole bit, and they still don't even have Von Miller coming back. Now, what he will be at this stage in his career, at this age of his career, coming back from an ACL, remains to be seen, but you certainly hope he can get back to at least some sign of Von Miller was even, last year before he got injured, the ACL injury on, I think it might have been on Thanksgiving Day. So Buffalo Bills at number 10. Again, if they beat Miami, who they play this weekend, is probably the game of week 4. If they beat Miami, they're going up higher. But if I'm kind of leaning Miami to win that game, in this contest in week 4. So again, I want to love Josh Allen so bad, but he won't let me. It's the turnovers, it's the reckless plays. Again, hurdling over guys as if you're the first down markers right there and you're 7 yards short. We've seen him make plays other than similar to that against the Raiders. He had a questionable pick against Washington. So it's those little things that keep me from loving Josh Allen and even liking the Bills, but they cracked the top 10. They're at number 10. At number 9, it is my Pittsburgh Steelers, who are on their highest spot on this list thus far. They started the season number 10. They came back in going into week 3 at number 10. They're now number 9. So we know how great Pittsburgh's defense is. I think it's the best in football. I think TJ Watt is absolutely, with respect to guys like Parsons and Bosa, Nick Bosa in particular. This guy is an absolute monster. He's got six sacks through 3 games, well on his way to do what I predicted him to do, knock on wood he stays healthy, and that is break Michael Strahan's single-season sack record. I think he's going to set it this year and win another Defensive Player of the Year trophy. But even outside of TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith's a great pass rusher. Pittsburgh paid him this past offseason. Well-deserved. Joey Porter, who I predicted to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now, that's probably Will Anderson today thus far. But Joey Porter just gets better and better and better every week. You have the young corner making some plays, picking off Jimmy Garoppolo. The Steelers linebacking core, led by Marcus Golden, is excellent. This is a team that can blitz. This is a team that can rush 4 and still get pressure consistently. And then offensively, look, we understand the criticisms. I've been toward the front of the train on this whole anti-Matt Canada rhetoric, so to speak. But listen, had a solid game plan. Now, some of this could be, the Raiders have a pretty cruddy defense, so it might have been some of that. But I saw a lot of outside runs, not as much, I should say, predictable play calling. He let Kenny Pickett, get outside the pocket with his legs, which is where he's comfortable. He let Kenny Pickett take shots down the field. Kenny looked more comfortable. George Pickens looked great. The kid, Calvin Austin, I think is his name, looked excellent. Had the long touchdown to get the scoring started for Pittsburgh. I still would like to see them use Jalen Warren a little bit more than they are, but it's a Mike Tomlin coach team. The defense it's Pittsburgh, so of course it's awesome. And the offense, I thought, took a stride in the right direction. I would still love to see a 400-yard game at some point from my Steelers. But they're at number 9. At number 8, also making their debut on Bryce's Best 10, a team that I liked coming into this year, the Seattle Seahawks are at number 8 on this list. So it's looking like, again, it is a young season, only 3 weeks in, but it's looking like for the Seattle Seahawks that this is a situation where we always have a couple of week 1 games where we look back in December like, man, they lost to that team, to start the year. I think we'll kind of look at Seattle where they lost the LA Rams in week 1, and we're like, they lost the Rams? Like that lost badly to the Rams at home, and Geno Smith played terrible in that game. Since then, he was awesome against the Detroit Lions, and then against the Carolina Panthers defense that is solid. Geno played excellent. What's the stat? Let me pull it up here. Geno threw for 296 yards, a touchdown, good QBR, solid passer rating, and the Seahawks rushing attack led by Kenneth Walker was excellent. It's a Pete Carroll team, so of course they run the football well. Defensively, they seem to be kind of hitting their stride a little bit. I know Carolina scored 27, but some of that was kind of in garbage time, and Seattle mostly led throughout. So Seattle's ability to run the football. Again, Seattle sneakily has one of the best wide receiving trios in football with DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Tyler Lockett, who's been a fantasy monster for a lot of people this year. Kenneth Walker runs the football well. Now, if they can get some of these offensive linemen back healthy, that'll be key for them, be crucial. But listen, the Seattle Seahawks team has all the makings to be back in the playoffs this year. I believe they were before the season. I believe that now. Seattle is the 8th best team in the NFL. At number 7, it is the kneecap biters, the Detroit Lions, who play tomorrow night against the Green Bay Packers. I'll predict that game in just a moment. But Detroit goes to number 7. I think they had them. Let me make sure I had them at a number 8 last week. I had number 8 after the loss to the Seahawks. They move up a spot because while the offensive performance wasn't overwhelming, only scoring 20 at home, where they're great offensively, albeit against a great or a very good Atlanta defense at the very least. That defensive performance, I understand Desmond Ritter's at quarterback. I get that. And Desmond Ridder is, I think, a backup in this league as we sit here today. But Atlanta's got a really good offensive line. And Aiden Hutchinson and that Lions defensive line got in Desmond Ritter's face for most of the afternoon. Forced him into some mistakes. The secondary for Detroit, I really like. Cam Sutton's playing pretty solid. And again, as many weapons as Atlanta has, Detroit really shut that down. So, look, I said before this year, I think they're a team that's going to make the NFC title game. Jared Goff just seems to get better and better and more comfortable in this Ben Johnson offensive system. They run the football effectively. So, I think Detroit's absolutely at number 7. Big game tomorrow night against the Green Bay Packers. But I like Detroit right now as the 7th best team in the NFL. At number 6, they drop a few spots. They drop one spot, rather. From 5 to 6. At number 5, number 6, rather. At number 6, I've got the Baltimore Ravens. At number 6, I've got the Baltimore Ravens. So, my thing with Baltimore is this. So, I get it. It was an ugly loss to the Indianapolis Colts. It wasn't one you're going to look back and say, oh, they played well. Lamar Jackson didn't look particularly great. In their defense, Gardner Minshew's an experienced backup in this league, has won some games in the past, back with Jacksonville, and even in moments looked solid with Philadelphia last year, particularly in the Dallas game. But he's experienced. He's been there. He's done that. This is a Ravens defense that played relatively well. And by the way, if Justin Tucker makes... It's a long one, a 61-yarder, but we've seen Justin Tucker make kicks like that in the past. He does, after all, hold the all-time record. If that kick goes through... Here we are talking about the Ravens at 3-0, and most importantly, they've got some reinforcements coming back from injury this week. So I talked about earlier, Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, is back at practice this week. For the Baltimore Ravens, which is going to be huge for them in terms of getting his left tackle back, giving Lamar the proper protection. Tyler Linderbaum is also coming back. Marcus Williams, their safety, is also coming back. So a lot of reinforcements offensively and defensively for the Baltimore Ravens. I still think today, as much as it pains me as a Steelers fan to say that the best team in that division, certainly better than Cincinnati. I think better than Cleveland, as much as it hurts me to say again. I think better than Pittsburgh today. But Baltimore, I believe Lamar and the offense will bounce back. They're still kind of trying to get comfortable with that system led by Todd Monken. By about mid-season, late October, early November, I think they'll really be hitting their stride. So I still got the Ravens in the top 10 at number 6. At number 5, they drop a couple spots. It's the Dallas Cowboys. I'm seeing a lot of teams drop Dallas to like 6 or 7. I think that's absolutely ludicrous. First of all, some of this is we're just underestimating the quarterback they play on the other side. Josh Dobbs is a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think it's recent data and even data from last year would show you just that. But listen, Dak didn't play particularly well. Wasn't awful, but wasn't great either. Wasn't in a position where he kind of put the team in his back. Missed some throws. Dallas has really been the story offensively. They're not good in the red zone. I think they got down inside the 10 4 times and only came away with 1 touchdown against Arizona. Dak also threw a pick in that game. The defense, for as great as it is, as great as Micah Parsons is, they lose Trayvon Diggs. And even with Trayvon Diggs without him, that run defense, and we saw it a year ago, is kind of suspect. It's the reason they made the very questionable decision, at least in my mind, to take Mozzie Smith, the defensive lineman out of Michigan, using their first-round pick to do so instead of taking a tight end and giving Dak another weapon. But listen, they struggled to stop the run. They gave up 200 yards against the Cardinals. However, part of the problem that game is something they can very easily fix is the game plan. Mike McCarthy didn't really allow Dak to take that many shots. Dak only took 3 shots down the field, 20 yards or more. A lot of dink and dunk, a lot of not taking big risks. And by the way, Dallas should be getting Zach Martin back this week, should be getting Tyron Smith back this week, potentially Tyler Bionis. That's 3 offensive linemen that was out in that game against Arizona. against an okay Cardinals defensive line. They should get them back this week against New England. Dak is still undeniably a top 10 quarterback in the NFL until proven otherwise. CeeDee Lamb's a monster. I have a feeling Dallas is going to make a point of getting him the ball early and getting the ball to him often. The defense will bounce back. Micah will have some of these stretches where he kind of disappears a little bit, and then he'll come back like, okay, yeah, there's number 11. He looks like the best football player in the field today. Dallas will get, kind of like Baltimore, reinforcements in their offensive line. They're a great running team, really good passing team, great defense. Teams like that bounce back on, after rough performances against lesser teams. Cowboys at number 5. I still think they're going to get to the Super Bowl. At number 4, a team in their division, the Philadelphia Eagles, to me, are the 4th best team in the NFL. Because listen, I know a lot of people are criticizing them. Hey, they haven't looked that sharp offensively, and some of that is the loss of Shane Steichen, now the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. We understand that is absolutely a factor. And Jalen Hurts hasn't played particularly well through the start of the season. I think only 3 touchdowns and 3 picks, so certainly not MVP numbers, of which he put up last year in being in that MVP discussion. However, I've talked about with Philadelphia before the season, and certainly, I believe as strongly as ever now, given the evidence that we have for what they've done through the first 3 games. They're the best team in the NFL up front. Be it offensive line, be it defensive line, that combination of what they have, it is highway robbery that they got Jalen Carter with the 9th pick. We understand Jalen Carter had the off-the-field concerns, but Chicago obviously stupidly traded the pick to Philadelphia, who took Jalen Carter, who's potentially the best player in the draft. At least I thought he was with the 9th pick. He is already wreaking absolute havoc on the football field. Looks every bit like a potential Pro Bowl and all-pro defensive tackle for years to come in the NFL. But again, we talk about with Philly, they know their identity, they play into their strengths, and they ran the football about as effectively as any team in the NFL. They look great against Tampa again. DeAndre Swift, since coming back from injury, has been a man on a mission, has looked outstanding, kind of maybe looking to prove Detroit wrong to a certain degree for trading him, but he looks great. Eagles' offensive line is probably still the best in football. Listen, it's Jalen Hurts, it's A.J. Brown, it's Devontae Smith, guys like Dallas Goedert as well. They'll get the passing game right eventually. But Philadelphia, to me, the 4th best team in the NFL. They could just flat out, it's not sexy. It's not something we talk about on all these shows all the time. But sometimes, again, football in its most simple sense is moving another grown man against his will. I don't think any team does that better on both sides of the ball than the Philadelphia Eagles. They're the 4th best team in the NFL. At number 3 is the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. And you must be asking yourself, Bryson, you had him at number 2 last week. How do they drop? Well, some of that is, obviously, I haven't mentioned Miami yet. Miami jumped them. But I will say, loved what I saw from Kansas City offensively. And it was a great opportunity, given their opponents, given that Chicago might be the worst defense in the NFL, it was a great opportunity for them to get other guys involved. You saw guys like Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney get involved. The kid Rashee Rice, I really like. Could be a big-time red zone weapon for them. And listen, they are now undeniably, I think they might have, for the time being, maybe taken the Cowboys' spot in this regard. They're probably the most popular team in the NFL right now. With the addition of Taylor Swift, all the Swifties are now Chiefs fans. Travis Kelce caught a touchdown. The defense looked amazing. Listen, Kansas City is in a great spot. The tight end seemed like in his personal life, he's in a great spot. Mahomes looked excellent. Didn't turn the football over. Was very efficient. Chicago was kind of like a get-right game for Kansas City on the offensive side of the ball. I have no reason to believe that they're just going to get a tank offensively moving forward. I said that coming into this week. Kansas City as the 3rd best team in the NFL. They'll be just fine. No reason to worry about them whatsoever. At number 2, let's get a little mini drum roll here. As a matter of fact, let me just play the drum roll emoji because this is emoji. Drum roll sound bite. I've got Miami as the 2nd best team in the NFL because there's kind of debate. Is it Miami? Is it San Francisco? I've got Miami at number 2, just a spot below the San Francisco 49ers. And here's the only reason that separates them is I haven't seen them do it in the playoffs. But, when a team just drops 70 on your head, when Tua Tagovailoa plays basically a perfect football game, how he didn't get a perfect passer rating is beyond me. What, because he had 3 incompletions? Yeah, when you throw 26 passes, there's probably gonna be some incompletions mixed in there. The thing about Miami, and I keep saying this, that it separates them from where they were a year ago, not just the fact that Tua is healthy and we'll knock them with if that continues, but they ran for 300 yards against the Denver Broncos, and Raheem Mostert looks great. The other guy they had there, Dolphins fans, I promise I'm going to learn how to say his name correctly. I promise. A-Chan is how you say his name? A-Chain? Something like that. Looked great as well. The Dolphins offensive line is the best that it's been in the Tua era. Mike McDaniel is taking place out of the Kyle Shanahan book. Obviously Kyle Shanahan's one of the most creative offensive play callers in football. You got Mike McDaniel coming from that system. You got these no-look shovel passes. Now listen, teams are going to get film on this, and it's going to be up to the Dolphins to adjust. I think they can, though, when you can run the football, take the pressure off of Tua, who, as I admitted on Monday's show, I was wrong about. Dolphins fans, forgive me. I apologize. I'm so sorry. For what I've said about your guy for the last 2 years, but they're efficient. They run the football well. They take shots down the field. Tyreek looks like the best receiver in football today, even over my man Justin Jefferson. Dolphins at number 2. If they get a win this week, they might be at number 1. But the team, once again, third week in a row, that is the best team in the NFL in my eyes, is the San Francisco 49ers. So San Francisco at number 1. I've talked all offseason. I've talked even on this show throughout the first part of this season about how great that roster is, so forget that. It is how dominant the 49ers have been in this stretch of football since their last regular season loss, which was Week 8 of 2022. Ever since Week 8, they've won every single football game they played. The only one that they lost was when they literally didn't have a quarterback. Brock Purdy blew out his UCL. The backup, Josh Johnson, the well-traveled man, Josh Johnson, got concussed in that game. So you had Christian McCaffrey taking snaps against the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen, again, we talk about Philadelphia's ability to beat you up front. There's no question about that. The 49ers are about as good as any team in the NFL not named Philadelphia in that regard. I get it's the Giants. I understand that. But when you look at what they did, they offensively, Brock Purdy threw for 300 yards, had a great passer, a great QBR. They ran the ball well, 141 yards rushing. Christian McCaffrey is a man on a mission, potentially the best offensive player in the NFL, arguably could be the front runner for offensive player of the year. Certainly is in that discussion. And listen, you look at San Francisco, what they've allowed defensively. They gave up 7 to my Steelers, gave up 23 to the Rams, but A, divisional familiarity, B, the Rams got a late cover on the field goal and were awful in the second half offensively, and then 12 to the New York Giants. So, listen, their big test is coming in a couple weeks against the Cowboys offense, but I keep saying this, please tell me the weakness of this Niners football team, because for all of those that say quarterback, I can't tell. Since he stepped in, not only is he, he wins, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo won. The numbers this guy is putting up and the trust that the Shanahan coaching staff has in this guy tells me all I need to know. He's accurate, he's mobile, he makes throws in and outside the pocket, he's an excellent leader, he doesn't turn the football over. What is there not to like? He's excellent. Brock Purdy's excellent. The San Francisco 49ers, to me, third week in a row, are the best team in the NFL. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.